So good morning everyone. My name is Amit Kumar Singh and welcome to my first class on risk analysis on capital budgeting. More or less in this class we'll cover the numerical portions which are relevant for your exam preparation, but at the same time you need to have a basic understanding about the theoretical concept also. So although we'll give less emphasis on the theoretical portion, but even then certain theory concepts are more important for you, and that will definitely directly or indirectly will help you whenever you are trying to solve the problem. Talking about risk, what is basically a risk? So what is a risk? So risk is the deviation from expected versus actual. So already when I was teaching you statistics at that time, I have discussed a lot about risk. So risk again is very important parameter in the present global environment. You can see the risk that no one has even predicted the epidemic which has just now engulfing the whole world, and because of that lot of risk has emerged. As you see from April, the economic crisis has came and we all are struggling just to get our survivals, also to get your basic needs. So that is basically a risk. Whenever you talk about risk, certain risks are systematic risk, certain risks are non-systematic risk. So whenever you talk about systematic risk is something which you can never control, no matter what form of preventions you can do, either in the term of insurance, what all you can try to do, but even then there are certain macroeconomic risks which you can mitigate. Fine. Then there are non-systematic risks. Non-systematic risks are the form of risk which you can somehow mitigate by adopting per financial ideology of maybe working on insurance, or maybe understanding the kind of risk what you are going through, maybe at your individual level or maybe at your business level. So when we talk about capital budgeting, now I'm not going to talk about portfolio management. I'm talking about capital budgeting. So when I talk about this concept called capital budgeting, so when I'm talking about this concept called capital budgeting, so here the very important terms comes capital. So when you talk about capital you can either raise in the form of equity, or the capital you can raise in the form of debt. So either you raise capital in the form of equity or either you raise capital in the form of debt. They have their own risk parameter. So already you have studied a subject called corporate valuation. So there you have understood a very much about the risk what you have involved whenever you raise money in the form of equity, where you raise the money in the form of debt. Like Steve Jobs, he did so much for the Apple company, but somewhere in the future, Apple company have removed him from the post of CEO because Apple company gradually become a public company. So once it become a public company, now the public representative who are called the board of directors, they have right over decision making for the company. Similarly, if you talk about the risk on the debt, if you start taking too much debt, then ultimately that can engulf you. Talk about a company called Lehman Brothers. So Lehman Brothers was the world's fifth largest investment banking company. And because they had too much debt in their capital structure, and because of that, they ultimately got bankrupt in 2008. And that was the beginning of the US subprime crisis. So if you type in YouTube about Lehman Brothers or the beginning of subprime crisis, you will get to know that. So when I talk about capital you can raise in the form of equity, or capital you can raise in the form of. So whenever you raise capital either in the form of equity, or when you raise capital in the form of debt, you incur a cost. So that is called cost of equity. We normally represent cost of equity with a symbol called KE. KE stand for cost of equity, and normally we represent the cost of debt with a symbol called KD. KD means cost of debt. So now the whenever you raise capital, the sum total of the risk what you engulf, that is called WACC, weightage average cost of capital. That formula is WE into KE plus WD into KD into 1 minus T. So that is the formula of WACC, weightage average cost of capital. So weightage average cost of capital is very important parameter whenever we plan for capital budgeting decision. Budget, what do you mean by budget? Budget basically means planning for the future. Fine, you know that government of India, Union government, come up with a budget every year in the month of the February. So in the budget they talk about next year financial planning. Okay, so the same way when you talk about capital budget, so here capital budgeting, here the term budgeting planning. So whenever you talk about a firm, whenever you talk about a firm always have four kind of decisions. Either the firm talks about liquidity decision. Either when you talk about a firm, what kind of decisions the firm works on. So if firms either work on liquidity decision, or they work on investment decision, or they work on financial decisions, or they work on dividend decisions. So you already are right now. I think you are in fourth semester. Already in second semester, third semester, you have studied about this. So when you talk about liquidity decision, when you talk about liquidity decision is all about working on the working capital management of the company, talking about current assets and current liabilities. All that discussion what the company do in order to work on their management, that is something comes under liquidity decision. When you talk about dividend decision is all about understanding what they can do with the profit. Every year the company get a profit, so what should they do with profit? Should they give dividend to the shareholder, or should they give bonus to the shareholder? Should they give share split to the shareholder, or they keep that profit with them in the form of reserve? Fine. So the reserve and surplus, what they'll maintain, that will be used next year for the company. And too much reserve and surplus also not good for the company. If a company is having too much reserve and surplus, that also does not look good, because there's something called inflation, which ultimately reduce the value of money. So again, it depends upon the company to company. So when you talk about decisions for the firm, so the decisions for the firm can be regard of their it can be related to their liquidity decision, it can be related to their profitability decision, it can be related to their financial decision means, like should they think about doing something new, like how will they finance the investment, so how they can work on, like what proportion of capital they can raise in the form of equity or debt. So all that they talk in the financial decision. And the last and the most important part is the investment decision. So when you talk about investment decision, when you talk capital budgeting, so they are basically based on investment decision. And whenever you talk about investment decision are basically long term decision. Fine, investment decision is not something which is short term. Investment decision is not something which you can start doing and gradually in the future you can reverse it. Investment, whenever you talk about investment as a word means you are planning for the long term, beyond 1 year. So whenever you do investment, you need to put lot of capital. You need to put lot of capital. So the capital what you put for your investment. So in order to do investment, you start new thing, or you modernize your existing assets. Whatever you talk about, so the capital what you put here, that is called as capital expenditure. So you incur capital expenditure. So whenever you incur capital expenditure, so ultimately, whenever you are incurring capital expenditure, ultimately you are expecting something. No? What you are expecting? You are expecting a reward in the future. Like I'm planning to start a new college. Maybe I'm Padma Shri College. I'm the director of Padma Shri College, and I'm planning that. Okay, fine. So my college is doing great. Now it's time to start a new college. So if it's time to start a new college, then although how many students will come or not in future, but before deciding that part, I need to understand how much money I'm going to put in that. So the money what you're going to put in that, that is called capital expenditure. Once you put that money into the business, once your business get ready, once your venture or your seed get ready, and is they're going to flourish into the plant. Now the things what comes in the mind is the return. Here we talk about the value what you're going to create. So if you do a capital expenditure, you're expecting some value in the future. So that value what you are expecting in the future, that depends upon the asset what you have created. So the asset what you have created, definitely that asset is going to have a useful life. The asset definitely going to have a, and during the useful life of the asset will give you certain cash inflows. So these assets will give you certain cash inflows. After every regular interval of time, this assets will give you cash inflow. This is called cash inflow. So when you talk about cash inflow, so when I talk about cash flow, so many people say that what should you consider? Should you consider profit or should you consider cash flow? So here we should consider cash flow. Now cash flow can be of many types. Cash flow can be operating cash flow, it can be capital cash flow, it can be free cash flow, it can be free cash flow to equity, it can be free cash flow to firm. So normally when we talk about investment decision, we basically talk in the term of operating cash flow. So here what I'm more interested in my operating cash flow. So what are my operating cash flows, what all I'm going to expect to get in the future. So normally when I talk about operating cash flow, it can be either profit after tax, or many people put EBIT 1 minus T matters. So either you put profit after tax or EBIT 1 minus T. On this, you add your non-cash expenses. On this, you add your non-cash expenses. Non-cash expenses can be in the form of depreciation or amortization, and plus change in working capital. Change in working capital. So the sum total of this is called as operating cash flow. So what you are expecting? You are expecting that gradually, like, see, I'm putting some money. I'm putting some money. The money what I'm putting is my initial investment. So the money what I'm putting is my initial investment. Okay, suppose I'm putting 10 crore rupees to start a new Padma Shri college. Suppose I'm putting 10 crore rupees. Okay, fine. So I don't have a problem of putting 10 crore rupees, because in Bangalore there a lot of money is there, and if I start a college, definitely I'll get a lot of students. So I'm ready to put 10 crore rupees, but what I'm looking for, I'm expecting, I want to know when I'll get my break even. Are you getting me? For every business, the very important factor is the break even. So you are putting, suppose if you're putting 10 crore rupees here, so if you're putting 10 crore rupees here as your capital expenditure, you are expecting that once you start receiving the cash flow, when you will get your break even. So I believe everyone knows the term called break even. Break even means when you recover the money. Break even basically means when you recover your money. Break even means when your inflow would become equal to your outflow. That is called as break even. Fine. So other term for the break even is payback. So the other term for the break even is basically payback. So when I talk about payback, so normally in payback we don't consider cash flow. For the payback we consider profit after tax. So by simply analyzing the profit after tax year on year basis, and just taking the cumulative value of that, I'll see when it become equal to the my initial investment. So there I don't consider time value of money. So the better technique for that is the discounted payback. So in the case of discounted payback, I consider the time value of money. Anyway, so I believe you have an idea about payback. You know about break even, discounted break even, and accounting break even, financial break even. Fine. So certain tool you can consider time value, certain tool if you want, you'll not consider time value. So it again depends on you, the way you want to analyze. So here the thing what is important for you is that whenever you talk about capital budgeting decision, you are putting some money upfront, and then you are going to receive certain cash flows in the future depending upon the useful life of the asset. The useful life of the asset is n year. So for n year probably you receive cash flow from the company. So you understand that the cash flow what you get after 3 year, maybe 1 crore rupees, maybe the cash flow. So the 1 crore rupees what you get after 3 year is not equal to the 1 crore rupees what you get after 4 year, because you know that there's something called inflation, and that inflation can reduce the value of money. So what we do, we basically prefer here time value of money. And what we do in order to analyze the project, we analyze the project with the most common tool, that is called net present value. To analyze the project, we use very common tool, that is called net present value. What is net present value? Net present value is basically sum of present value of your future cash flow, sum of present value of your future cash flow that you will subtract from your initial investment. If you do this gives you an NPV. NPV is one of the very common term which every finance student study in the life of the MBA. So when you come out of your MBA and you start searching job and if you go anywhere, the first question they will ask you what is WACC, they'll ask you what is NPV. So you should know these terms. So NPV, when you talk about NPV, what is basically NPV? So the NPV is nothing but it is the sum of present value of your future cash flow and that you subtract with your initial investment. So whatever the future cash flow what you are getting, so what you do, you discount this cash flow with the WACC. So you discount these cash flows from the WACC. WACC is a discounting factor. So whatever the cash flows you are getting, you're discounting these cash flow from your WACC. This you do till any year, whatever the life of the asset is there. You determine the life of the asset and you discount the cash flows for the n year. This you subtract with your initial investment. So that gives you NPV. So if your NPV turn to you positive, if your NPV is positive, then only you will accept the project. So if your NPV is positive, then only you will accept the project. NPV is very important criteria, a very important factor whenever we are analyzing the project. One of the very common criteria to analyze the project is basically NPV. Fine. So I believe you are aware about the term called NPV. You are aware about the terms like IRR, internal rate of return, then ARR, accounting rate of return, payback, discounted payback, profitability index. These all are the techniques for analyzing a capital budgeting decision. Out of all the decisions, the most common tool is the NPV. It's fine. NPV stand for net present value. So whenever you have a contradiction between NPV and IRR, you always prefer NPV over IRR. So maybe there are two projects. One project NPV is more and other project IRR is more. So which project you prefer? You prefer the project which have the more NPV. The better version to analyze the project more than IRR is MIRR. MIRR stands for Modified Internal Rate of Return. So you should prefer MIRR more than IRR. But for traditional purpose, we follow IRR only. So what is basically your IRR? Anyone knows what is basically your IRR? So when I talk about IRR, what is your IRR? So IRR basically means internal rate of return. So IRR basically means at what discount rate. When I say what is IRR, so what IRR basically means at what discount rate your initial investment. So IRR basically means at what discount rate. IRR basically means at what discount rate your investment, your initial investment will become equal to the your present value of future cash flow. So future cash flow, that is basically called as IRR. That is, so we basically do this calculation and we try to analyze. So probably like what discount rate can I follow? So what discount rate can I follow? So that my initial investment become equal to the my present value of my future cash flow. Means here we are trying to find the threshold value. Here what we are trying to do, we are trying to find the threshold value. So at what threshold value, what should be my threshold value? So the idea is to find the threshold value. So what should be my threshold value at which discounting rate or what threshold rate of interest can I consider where my present value of my future cash flow can become equal to the initial investment. But whenever you talk about a project where you have outflows, inflows, then outflows, then inflows, it's not like no. Whenever you are doing a project, in if you talk about realistic point of view, it can also happen that there can be certain cash outflows in the future. It's not like you always get inflow. It can be the scenario where you may get certain outflow also. Okay, so then IRR will start giving you contradictory values, because if you have only one outflow, then only inflows, then IRR is no problem. But if you have outflow, then inflow, inflow, then outflow, then inflow, then outflow. If you talk about a complex situation, then probably MIRR would be much more better option. Fine. So I believe you remember about what is NPV, what is IRR, what is your profitability index. What is profitability index? Profitability index is the sum of present value of your future cash flow that you divide with your initial investment. Fine. So your profitability index should be more than one. Fine. So I hope you still remember the different techniques. What is payback? What is discounted payback? What is ARR? All these. Fine. So these all are the very basic techniques. And by using these techniques, what we are trying to do, we are trying to analyze a budget. When you are trying to analyze a budget, so the capital budgeting, what we are trying to analyze, so we can analyze by considering these factors. But the problem happens that when you talk about capital budgeting problems, capital budgeting decisions, so there you need to understand that you are talking everything in the term of future. Here you are talking everything in the term of future. So when you are talking everything in the term of future, you know that future is very unexpected. You see the current scenario only. Suppose somebody was planning to start a new hotel in Bangalore, okay, and they did all these calculation. What all I am talking of last 30 minutes, maybe somebody has done all these calculation in Excel sheet. And the moment he was about to start the hotel, suddenly this corona epidemic scenario came. So then nobody has expected this, and ultimately this happened. And then you cannot do the valuation. You cannot do the valuation to understand the situation. So you need to understand there is something called risk, and that risk is always there. So probably that risk become more prominent whenever you talk about a capital budgeting decisions. So whenever we are trying to analyze a capital budgeting decisions, here whenever we are trying to analyze a capital budgeting decision, so you need to understand how to work on the risk analysis. You need to understand how you can work on risk analysis. So what all techniques of risk analysis can you do? So those techniques of risk analysis, what you can do to analyze a project, they can be either statistical technique. If you remember what I have taught you in your first semester in regard of statistical technique, so they can be either based on probability or standard deviation or coefficient of variation. If you remember the formula of coefficient of variation, I am really doubtful how many of you remember the formula of coefficient of variation. Coefficient of variation formula was standard deviation divided by mean into 100. So you can follow these statistical techniques. So you can either talk in the term of probability. So you can either talk in the term of probability because you know that future is very uncertain, and then because the future is very uncertain, you cannot be sure about that part. So in order to understand the situation, you need to analyze the project. You need to understand that nothing is certain, everything is uncertain, and you need to quote and value for that uncertainty. So certain time we follow a tool like certainty equivalent. So in certainty equivalent, we multiply our future cash flows with a factor called alpha. That alpha is called as certainty equivalent. That certainty equivalent talks about how much you are certain about receiving this cash flow. Suppose I say that next year I'll get 1 crore. Suppose I'm saying that if I start this project, then next year I'll get 1 crore. Okay, fine. So you next year you're getting 1 crore. Yes. Okay. Then I'll ask you how much you are certain. Certainty equivalent. So for that we'll analyze the project altogether. We analyze the business in which we are doing this project. We analyze the market. We analyze the other microeconomic factors, and then based upon that, I'll say a value between 0 to 1, and that value, if that value is more than very close to 1, means I'm very certain. If that value is close to 0, means I'm less certain. So that is called certainty equivalent. The other tool can be sensitivity analysis, or it can be scenario analysis. We'll talk about every tool. Then it can be risk adjusted discount rate. So we'll understand the differences about the certainty equivalent, risk adjusted discount rate, coefficient of variation. One by one, we'll understand all these tools. Okay, now talking about probability, talk about probability. So you can see this question has came for your exam. You can see so in So this is too much. 1 minute. I believe everyone can see this. This is last year paper, 2019 paper. So you can see this 2019 paper. Okay, so in the 2019 paper, you can see this question number 4. So you can see this question. There's a company called Shivam Limited that is considering two mutually exclusive projects, A and B. So project A cost 36,000 rupees and project B cost 30,000 rupees. And you have given below the net present value probability distribution of each project. So that value is given to you. And so compute the expected present value of project A and B. Then you need to compute the risk attached with the each project. Means they are asking you to calculate the standard deviation of each project. Then they're asking you which project would you recommend, and you need to tell the reason why. So we'll do this question. So we'll do this question. Fine. I believe this is visible to everyone. So we'll do this question. So what is there in this question? So there's a company called Shivam, and there's a company called Shivam, and that company is considering two projects, and both the projects are mutually exclusive project. Mutually exclusive project means you cannot do both of them together. Either you can do A or you can do B. So you cannot do them together. Where project A, when you talk about project A, 1 minute, when you talk about project A, then project A is costing you 36,000 rupees and project B is costing you 30,000 rupees, and you have given these values of the NPV. So you are not sure, no? The NPV can be anything. You are not sure about the NPV. Your NPV can be 15,000 or 12,000 or 6,000 or 3,000, and that probability is given. So first we'll do project A and then I'll do project B. So one by one we'll do for each project. So then the first question they ask you, calculate the expected net present value. So the expected net present value formula is summation of what you say PI into XI. So here what is PI? PI means your probability. Here PI basically means your probability, and XI basically means your NPV. So here XI basically means your NPV estimate. Fine. So this by using this formula called summation of PI into XI, I'll calculate my expected NPV. Okay. Then I need to calculate the standard deviation. So I believe you still remember the symbol of standard deviation. So this is the symbol of standard sigma. So for the formula for standard deviation, summation of PI into xi minus er. This er, what you get here, this is er, what you get here, er whole square. So that will give you standard deviation. Okay, now talking about so how will you decide which project to recommend? So for that we'll calculate the coefficient of variance, coefficient of variation or variance. The formula for that is standard deviation by mean into 100. So we use this formula called of coefficient of variation. So whichever project the coefficient of variation is less, I will prefer that project. Coefficient of variance basically measures the degree of randomness in a project. I hope you are clear with this. Anyone have any doubt? Anyone want to ask anything? Use your chat option, use your democratic, ask anything. Please ask if anyone have any doubt. Anyone want to ask anything? Ask your doubt. Anything, whatever I have taught, if you have not understood. I believe everyone is listening to me. No one has put the and they become. I think everyone is listening to me. Anyone want to ask anything till now? Whatever I have covered. Why everyone is so silent? Any question, anyone? Geeta, Malika, Arjun, Manju, Mridun, Monisha, Nandita, Ranjit, Roja, Satakshi, Shiv Prasad. Anyone, any doubt? Amit Yadav. Anyone want to ask anything? Okay, so I'm assuming that you don't have any doubt, and assuming that you are understanding what all I'm doing. So fine. So we'll start solving the problem then. Then we'll start solving the problem. So fine. If uh, uh, so fine. So first, we'll do the see here. The thing is that you need to understand that is reality. That is reality check. This is the reality check. You need to understand that nothing is certain. You need to understand nothing is certain. So you need to talk everything in the term of probability. So when you're talking in the term of probability, so when in the term of probability, so how will you solve this question? So you need to understand that. So if I talk about project A, if I talk about project A, if I talk about project A, so the NPV 1 minute. So if I talk about project A, so the NPV of the project A is either 15,000 or 12,000, or it can be 6,000, or it can be 3,000. So this can be the NPV. The probability is given to you. This is either zero point 0.2 or either zero point 0.3 or either zero point 0.3 or either 0.2. The sum total of probability should be equal to 1, so that you can find out. Now going further, I can find my expected NPV. So my expected NPV would be the sum total of them. Expected NPV 15,000 into zero point 0.2, that would be 3,000. So 12,000 into zero point 0.3, that would be 3,600. 6,000 into zero point 0.3, that would be 1,500. Then 3,000 into zero point 0.2, that would be 100. Fine. So 0, 0. So 12, 20, 2 carry. So 3, 6, 8, 9. So the expected NPV of the project A is 9,000. This is the expected NPV. So the expected NPV, so the expected 1 minute. So the expected NPV, so the expected NPV of project A is equal to 9,000. This is the expected NPV of project A, that is 9,000. Okay. So I believe you have understood this. Fine. So once you got the expected NPV, what you can do, you can also find the standard deviation also, standard deviation and variance of project A. So let me just finish the project A, then we'll see project B. So the variance of project A, that would be equal to summation of PI. PI means probability into XI minus ER means expected NPV. This here would be, that would be square of that. And once we get the variance of project A, then we'll subtract, then we'll do the square root to get the standard deviation. Okay, so I got the expected NPV. So once I get the expected NPV, so expected NPV is 9,000. Expected NPV what I got is 9,000. Now I'll find XI minus ER. Fine. So xi minus er. So xi means this individual values. So xi means this values, this individual values. So these all are your individual values. So do that calculation. So 15,000 minus 9,000. So that would be 6,000. Then 12,000 minus 9,000, that would be 3,000. Then 6,000 minus 9,000, that would be minus 3,000. Then 3,000 minus 9,000, that would be minus 6,000. So you got xi minus er. So this, then I can find the square of this. So then do the square of this. So xi minus er, do the square of this. So 6,000 square, do the square of this. So 1 minute, let me write little bit up. So this is find the square xi minus er, do the square of this. So square 6,000 square is 36. So 36 into 10 to the power 6. So 30 square would be 60. 3000 square would be 9 into 10 to the power 6. 3000 square would be 9 into 10 to the power 6. And 6000 square would be 36 into 10 to the power 6. So once you get this value, multiply this with probability. So multiply this with your probability. So probability is already given, but I went very further this side. So let me write down the probability one more time. 0.2, 0.33, 0.2. So the probability is 0.2, 0.3, 0.2, 0.3, 0.3, 0.2. These are your probability. 0.2, 0.3, 0.3, 0.2. Okay. Once you get this probability, now multiply this pi into xi minus er whole square. So this is 0.2, 36 into 36 2 is 72. This would be 72 into 10 to the power 5. Okay, 9 into 10 to the power 6 into 0.3. So this would be 27 into 10 to the power 5. I hope you're understanding. Otherwise, you can put 0. You can do with calculator. You can put. So the zeros, I don't like 0 much in my life, because from so in my life I'm only getting 0 only, no one. So so I prefer to put powers on 0. So 9 into 10 to the power 6 into 0.3. So again this would be 27 into 10 to the power 5. Then 36 into 10, so the same thing, 72 into 10 to the power 5. So once you get this, so if you see the formula, this is the formula what I told you. This is the formula what I told you. So once you get this, multiplied with probability and do the sum. If you do the sum of this, this will give you the variance. So the variance is what? 72 2za is 144. 72 2za is 144, and 27 2za is 54. So you'll get 198. 198 into 10 to the power 5. Okay. You get 198 into 10 to the power 5. This is the variance of the project. So this is the variance of the project. So you got the variance of project as 198 into 10 to the power 5. So what is the deviation? The standard deviation of project A is square root of 198 into 10 to the power 5. So everyone who knows basic math, they know that it would be better if I write 1980 to the power into 10 to the power 4. So it would be better if I write it like this, because 10 to the power square root would be 100, and 1980 square root, this would be 4 za, then 4 means 380. So 45 square is 2025, 44 square is 1936, 44 square is 1936. So it's near about 44 into 100. It would be around 4400. Approximately, it would be around 4400. You can check with calculator. 198 into 10 to the power 5. QRT. How much? 198. How much is the value? 198 10 50. 1 2 3 4 5 50. So you get 444 triple 49.72. So you can write triple 49 triple 49 triple 1 So this is triple 49.2, triple 49.72. Please switch off your webcam. Malik, I don't know who is. Please switch off your webcam. Who is this person? Manju, please switch off your webcam. Nobody. Hmm. Hmm. So this is the standard deviation of project A. Fine. Anyone want to ask anything? So this question came last year for your exam. Anyone want to ask? So the expected NPV of this project is 9,000, and the standard deviation of this project is 4449.72. Any question? Anyone? once I do this calculation, I can find the coefficient of coefficient of variation of project A, that is standard deviation by mean into 100. Here the mean is the expected. So the standard deviation is 4449.7, divide by the mean is 9000 into 100. Do this, you will get the coefficient of variation of project A. So what I can do, I can remove two zeros and remove two zero. So then I can find the coefficient of variation of A divided by 9. So 9 fives are 45, 9 fours are 36. So you'll get 8, 84. 84 means 9s are 9, 39 means 4s are 39 means 4s are 37. 37 means 4s are 1 carry 11. 11 means 1s are 30. 30 means 3s are like this. So this divide by, so because divide by 10 is there, so put your decimal here. So your answer is 49.4413. That you can check with calculator if I'm anywhere wrong. So divide by 9200. So this divide by 9000 into 100 means divide by 90. You can 49.4413. Same thing. So here anyone want to ask anything? Any doubt, anyone? So this is the coefficient of variation of project A. This came for your exam last year. Your seniors have written this question. Clear? The way we did project A, similarly we'll do project B also. So the way we did project A, like the same way we'll do project B also. Anyone want to ask anything, guys? Anyone want to ask anything? Nobody is saying anything. Everyone is very silent. Either you are understanding everything or you are not understanding anything. Amit, any question? Satakshi, any question? Manju, Ranjit, anyone, any question? Rosa, Roja has taken finance. I'm surprised. Uh, mm, you can write, Ranjit. Whatever doubts you have, you can write. That I believe that would be great option. Ranjit, any doubt you have, please, you can write your doubt. Now, Ranjit, you can speak.
Okay. Yes, sir. No doubts. It's clear, sir.
Clear, no? You understand it.
Yes, sir.
Chalo, great. Hmm. Fine, everyone. Shiv Prasad, any doubt? Shiv Prasad is very sincere boy. Anyone, any doubt? Nandita, KGF, KGF Part 2, we are waiting from long, but still no idea when KGF will gonna come. Fine. Anyone? Monisha, any doubt? Fine. So I believe you are understanding. So who was the topper? Silpa or Nandita? I confused. That innocent girl was Silpa, no? Uh, Fine. So you understood this, right? Everyone. Chalo, then we'll do project B. So you understood project A. This came for your exam, hai na? So exam mein you have to do all this thing. And you like it or not like it, but you have to do. So now we'll talk about project B. Let's talk about project B. I hope this question is visible to you, all of you. I believe everyone can see this question. Now we'll talk about project B. Now I'll talk about project B. So we did project A. Now we'll talk about project B. So I think this is visible for you. So this is 15,000, 12,000, 6. This is 6,000. This is 3,000. This is 0.1, 0.4, 0.1, 0.4, 0.1. Okay, see, sorry. It should be total 1. No, so this is 0.4, I guess. Otherwise, let me check it one more time. Ranjit, anyone have previous year question paper? Please forward me, because Manjesh sir has forwarded. Still, few questions are not visible in that. So I really need the previous year question paper. So okay, this is point 4, point 4. Anyone who have, please put in the group or whatever. You have my, or you can WhatsApp me anything. What for you, do that. Okay. 1 minute. Let me delete this and again let me put it down somewhere down. So this is the question. Project B. So this is point 4. Point 4. So what I'll do, I'll find the expected NPV. This is your expected NPV. So I am writing ER to don't get confused. This is expected NPV. 15,000 to point 1 is 1,500, and 12,000 to point 4 would be 4,800, and then 6,000 into point 4, 6,000 into point 4 is 2,400, 2,400. 3,000 into point 1 is 300. Okay. Let me know if I do any calculation mistake. 1,500, 4,800, 2,400, and 300. So now the answer for this would be so 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 plus 7 is 2 carry, 4, 6, 8, 9. So the expected NPV for this project is 9,000. Once I get the expected NPV, I'll do R minus ER. I do this calculation, R minus ER. So 15,000 minus 9,000, that is 6,000. Then 12,000 minus 9,000, that is 3,000. 6,000 minus 9,000 is minus 3,000. And 3,000 minus 9,000, that is minus 6,000. So I'll do R minus ER. That done. I believe everyone is understanding. Everyone is understanding. So now you got R minus ER. Then I'll do R minus ER whole square, minus ER whole square. So 6,000 square would be 36 into 60. Okay, so 3,000 square is 9 into 60. And you understanding, no? 1, 2, 2, 3, then muru square. And so that will become aru 0. Then this is 9 into 10 to the power 6. And this is 36 into 10 to the power 6. Fine. So you got R minus ER whole square. So once you get this, multiply this with probability. Once you get this, multiply this with probability. So probability Pi into R minus ER whole square. So 36 into 10 to the power 6 into 0.1. If you do, you'll get 36 into 10 to the power 5. Then 9 into 10 to the power 6 into 0.4. If you do, 9 4s are 36. 36 into 10 to the power 5. Then 9 again, 36 into 10 to the power 5. Again 36, again 36 into 10 to the power 5. So the sum total of this is the variance. Variance 36 forza is 144. 36 forza is 144 into 10 to the power 5. This is your variance. So 36 forza, 6 forza, 24, 2 carry, 4 3 is 12 plus 2, 14. So the variance of project B is 144 into 10 to the power 5. So if you want the standard deviation, so the standard deviation of this would be 1440 into 10 to the power 4. I can write. I hope you are understanding why I'm writing, because I want the square root, and I know that powers would be perfect square if the power is even. So 1440 square root. So 1440 square root if you want. So what would be the value? What would be the value? So 35 square is 1225. 36 square is 1296. 37 square is 1369. 38 square is 1444. 38 square is 1444. This is very close to 38, so 3800 somewhat. So 3800 somewhat you'll get. So square root of 1 4 then 50 ಒಂದು ಎರಡು ಮೂರು ನಾಲ್ಕು ಐದು 50 you put 3794.73 3794.37 ಅಯ್ಯೋ 1 minute 3794.73 3794.73 3794.73. So you got this value. This is the standard deviation. Fine. So this is your expected. This is your expected NPV. This is your expected NPV. This is your standard deviation. So analyze the risk. You use the very common parameter called standard deviation. I believe statistics only I have taught you. So I believe you still remember the concept on statistics. What all I have done. Okay. Anyone want to ask anything? Any question? Fine. So I believe you are understanding and nothing is going above your head. So now coefficient. So now coefficient of variance of project B, that would be standard deviation by mean into 100. So standard deviation is 3794.73 divided by 9000 into 100. So you can divide by 9 fours are 36, 19. 19 means 2 ja, 2 ja means 114. 14 means 1 ja, 1 ja means 57. 57 means 6 ja, 33. 33 means 3 ja, 33 means a 3 ja, then 80. Then it will come around 42.1639. 42.1639. This divide by 90. 42.1637. Clear everyone? So I hope you are understanding this. Now, if I compare both the project, if I compare exam, then you have to write project A and then project B. So, okay, now this is the expected return. Expected return is 9,000. Both the project expected return is 9,000. Both the project expected return is 9,000. Then standard deviation of project A is 4449.72. 4449.72. Then standard deviation of project B is 3794.73. 3794.73. So here if you see the coefficient of variance. Now for this question you don't need actually coefficient of variance. If you understand both the project, their expected return is same, but the standard deviation of project B is less. Definitely you prefer project B over project A. So you don't need coefficient of variance for this because it's straightforward question. This is answers are very simple. But in case whenever there's a point of discussion or point of confusion, you'll see the coefficient of variance of both the project. So this is 42.1639, 42.1639, and this project one nimsha. This project is 49.4413, 49.4413. So 49.4413. Now you'll accept that project which have lesser coefficient of variance. You'll prefer that project which have lesser coefficient of variance. So which project have lesser coefficient of variance? That is project B. So here you should prefer project B over project A. Clear? Anyone have any doubt? Hmm. Anyone want to ask anything? Amit, when you are coming back from Nepal, bring something for me and tell your president or prime minister why he's creating problem. Hmm. Clear now, everyone? Everyone understood what all we have done. I hope you are enjoying this. So, so the thing what you need to understand here, the thing what you need to understand here, where is that PDF here? 1 minute. So, so the thing what you need to understand whenever you analyzing the project. mm, mm, so the techniques of the risk analysis, what all we do here. So the techniques of this risk analysis, whatever we do, so that is either based on probability, that is either based on variance or the standard deviation, that is either based on coefficient of variation, that is either based on risk adjusted discount rate, that is either based on certainty equivalent or sensitivity analysis or scenario analysis. After that, there is also called simulation analysis also. If you remember Monte Carlo simulation. So in operation research, I definitely believe that you studied Monte Carlo simulation. The Monte Carlo simulation is also very important. So we don't have that much time. Otherwise, definitely in MS Excel, I would have taught you about the Monte Carlo simulation. So you need to understand the risk, because you need to understand the risk analysis whenever we are talking the project. Whenever we are talking the project, so you need to understand that in the project, in the project, whenever we talk about the project, in the project, so whenever you need to understand that whenever we are talking about project, you need to understand it's not very easy to do calculation. It's not very easy to understand when you are gonna get the cash flows. So it is not like every year you will get the cash flow. It's not like on this particular date you will get the cash flow. So we used to have a habit. We used to have a habit that, like, whenever we solve the problem, we used to write like this year. We used to write year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this, and then we write our cash flows. Then we write our cash flow, some values, some random values, some random values, right? So we some random values we used to write. uh, so some random values we used to write. So some random values we used to write. So So whenever we talk with a project, whenever I'm talking project, we used to have a habit that till now in graduation also, when you're solving in second semester also, when you're solving the problem, we used to have a habit that we used to write the years. So these all are the life of the project, and in those years, I'm expecting that I'll get these cash flows. So it's not, you can understand, they are not at all certain. How can you sure that you get this cash flow? Next thing, how can you sure that here I'm writing 1, 2, 3, 4 year? So how can you sure about the time period when you're getting the cash flow? So normally when I do NPV calculation, normally when I do NPV calculation, so here it's written NPV. Normally when I do NPV calculation, so here I'm assuming that the cash flows what I'm getting cash flows after every regular interval of time. But you need to understand that in reality, when you do reality check, you need to understand that determining that exact time period after which you're going to get the cash flow is very difficult task. That's why in reality we prefer XNPV. That's why in reality we prefer XNPV. If you see XNPV, if you see in my screen what is written XNPV, it returns the net present value for the schedule of cash flows. So that's why we prefer XNPV. XNPV means rate. So you take the rate, you write down the rate, then you write down the values. What are the values? Comma date. Date means when you are expecting to get that. So that is much more better way. Instead of IRR, prefer XIRR. Instead of IRR, we prefer XIRR. So again, so here we don't consider the time period as equal time period. So when you calculation, so when you're doing this calculation like this, you are assuming that the time period is constant, but in reality, the time period may not be constant. So we prefer XIRR. We don't write IRR, we should prefer XIRR. So because if you see in the formula it is written dates. So with dates means so you know that in reality you will not get at the end of every year. In reality you may get any date. So there are certain dates you're doing a project. So your project is started like you, if I talk about you people only. So it's I cannot be sure about that on this date I'll get the money from you people. So you can pay me on any date. You understand it? So that's why we should prefer XIRR or XNPV much more better than the usual approach what we follow. But even then, just an idea which I wanted to give to you. If you want to know about that, I can talk more about an XNPV and XIRR. I can discuss it more, but I don't think so. You people are interested for that part, talking about Excel and other things. So if I do that, I can show you all that, but really doubtful because right now you are looking for exam explanation questions. So that's why I'm not deviating myself into those part. Imagine if I would be teaching in full fledged, definitely I would have done that part. Anyway, history is history. Talking about this part, you need to understand here the facts. So you need to understand that when you actually working in a business, so you are actually surrounded with lot of risk in the project, and you when you actually surrounded with lot of risk in the project, you need to understand how you can analyze those risk factors. So if you see this question, there's a one question which came for the exam. So you can see question number 3. You can see this question number 3, everyone. You can see the question number 3. What is risk? So what is risk? Risk is the deviation of expected from actual. That is risk. Okay, so what is risk? When I talk about risk, if I define here risk here, if I define here risk, what is risk? What is risk? So here, if I have to define risk, what is risk? Here, if I have one answer. So here, if I have to define risk, so the risk is the is risk is the deviation of expected from actual. So whenever you are measuring risk, whenever I'm trying to measure risk, whenever I'm trying to measure risk, so either I can measure the risk, I can either measure the risk on historical data. So either I can measure the risk on the historical data. So if I'm measuring the risk on the historical data, then the tool what I'll follow, then the tool what I follow to measure the risk on the historical data, the tool can be standard deviation. The tool can be standard deviation. The tool can be standard deviation, or the tool can be variance, or the tool can be range, or the tool range, or the tool can be quartile deviation, or your tool can be quartile deviation, or your tool can be mean deviation. So when you're trying to measure the risk, so if you're doing the calculation of risk on historical data, so you should prefer standard deviation or variance or range or quartile deviation or mean deviation. Out of this, the most common approach is standard deviation. Out of this, the most common approach is standard deviation. Standard deviation is the one of the most common approach of calculating risk based on the historical data. Now you need to understand here that we are living in very uncertain world. So in this uncertain world, so whatever has happened in the past, it doesn't mean that it can have relevance in the present or future. Okay, so it can or cannot have. Okay, you need to understand. So in stock market, we do that calculation. In stock market, we do that calculation, believing that what all has happened in the past can happen in the future. That is called technical analysis. Whenever you analyze the project, I believe you studied portfolio management already. I'm not sure you studied or not studied. If you're not studied, definitely next semester you'll study portfolio management. So there you will get this term called technical analysis. Technical analysis, in technical analysis we use maths, we use statistics, and by which what we are trying to prove, we are trying to prove the probability, or we are trying to prove the instances where what all has happened in the past, in what way it can happen in the present or future. That is what we are trying to do in technical analysis. Fine. You need to understand one thing here. The point which I want to make you clear is the whenever you talk about risk, whenever you're talking about risk, it's very difficult to analyze the risk. It's very difficult to predict the risk. So we are living in such an unexpected world where now the world has become a global village. Now the world has become a global village. We are living in the world of globalization, liberalization, privatization. We are living in the world of international business, international communication, where any event in any part of world definitely is gonna impacting the rest of the world this way or that way. In physics, there's a term which we use for this is called butterfly effect. So in physics, we use a term called butterfly effect. So if you don't know about butterfly effect, there's a movie also on butterfly effect. There's a Tamil movie called Dasa Avtaram. So if you watch the movie called Tamil movie called Dasa Avtaram, so there also they talked about butterfly effect. So you need to understand what all anything which happens in any part of world is definitely going to impact us, because the world is a global business village. So in this global business village, we need to understand that we cannot analyze the risk based on the historical data. So when you're talking about analysis of risk, you need much more sophisticated technique. So there you need to talk for the future. So you need to talk about the future. So when we talk about future, so when we are talking about future to analyze the risk, then we follow probability. So here we follow probability, and here we what we do. So when you are working on probability, we follow techniques like scenario analysis. We follow techniques like scenario analysis. We follow technique like sensitivity analysis to have a much more better understanding about how we can analyze the risk. So when you are trying to analyze the risk, you follow scenario analysis or sensitivity analysis or simulation analysis. So by doing all this, what we are trying to do, we are trying to analyze the risk. We are trying to analyze the risk. So what is sensitivity analysis? Sensitivity analysis is all about changing one variable. You change one variable and then you try to predict. Then you try to predict that if I change one variable, like till like if I'm changing one variable by certain values, how much how much my end product will gonna impact. So that is something called sensitivity analysis. What is scenario analysis? Scenario analysis. What we do in scenario analysis? In scenario analysis, what basically we do in scenario analysis, instead of changing one variable, we change a complete scenario. We talk about a scenario like optimistic scenario, pessimistic scenario, most likely scenario. Then we change a complete scenario, and then while changing a complete scenario, we try to see the output, input and output. Recently, I saw a very good movie, Telugu movie. There in that there's a so I watched in Hindi subtitles, so I don't know the actual Telugu name. So that in that movie, there's a younger brother of Allu Arjun is there. So younger brother of Allu Arjun, and I don't know the female actor name. So that movie was about parallel universe. So that movie is about parallel universe. There are the two people. So the two people, two couples who are living close to each other. They are having parallel life. I about parallel universe. So what all happening with that other couple right now? That's gonna happen. Hero and heroine after 1 year, and in that the actress, the other actress died. So then they thought that this the couple actor will gonna die after 1 year. So then they investigated. So you understand, it's like a scenario. So you if you then what the hero did to save his girl, what he did, he tried to change the scenario. Once the scenario get changes, the output also got changed. So you need to understand. So there's a very good movie I saw. So this is about scenario. So the scenario, when you are talking scenario, we talk in the term of one scenario. Pessimistic scenario means your selling price will decrease, your sales will decrease, your variable cost will increase. Okay, so people will not buy your product. That is pessimistic. Then what would be the output? Optimistic scenario means everything will happen good. Your sales will increase like anything. Your selling price is also increasing. Your variable cost is decreasing. Then what would be the output? That is scenario analysis. So in scenario analysis, what we do, we develop scenarios. In scenario analysis, what we do, we develop scenarios, and based on them, we do calculations. Simulation analysis, what you do, simulation, I believe you understand the term called simulation. So when I talk about the term called simulation, like you know that recently Sushant Singh Rajput, that now CBI has came to investigate, but CBI has no data left because everything is being cleaned, and now CBI left with no what to say, a fingerprint or anything. Now what CBI will do? CBI will try to simulate the situation. So what has actually happened on that day? So CBI will try to simulate the situation by asking to those people. They will try to do the dummy testing. So instead of his body, they'll put a dummy having the same weight at the same place. So then they'll try to see that what all they're talking about is actually matching with the factual data or not. So that is simulation analysis. So simulation, what is simulation? You create an artificial environment for the same thing. Okay, like you see the movie Bahubali. So Bahubali is a movie based on some event in the past. So what they did, they simulate the scenario. So you cannot do in reality. So instead of doing in reality, they did artificially by using visual effect or artificial intelligence or something. They try to bring that. They try to bring that in picture. Okay, 1 minute, 1 minute. We are So when we talk about the calculation of risk here, so here you can either talk about calculation risk either in the term of like you cannot simply rely on historical data. So you should talk much more in better way in the future by talking about scenario or sensitivity or simulation. So nowadays in the investment banking world, we use a term called VAR. VAR stands for value at risk. Very important term. So right now, if you study any book on finance, which is based on risk management, if you study any book, when I was working on TCS, so we are working on VAR. VAR basically means the maximum loss. So the VAR basically means the maximum loss. Like I'm talking a portfolio or investment anything. maximum loss on your portfolio or investment, maximum loss on a investment, the maximum loss on a investment for a particular time period, for a particular time period, for a particular time period. So the maximum loss what you can get on your investment for a particular time period at certain confidence interval, at certain confidence interval. So basically in stock market everywhere we follow war. So war basically means the maximum loss. If I say the war for one day at 95% confidence interval, suppose $1 million. What this mean? Everywhere in the banking industry we follow war. So what this mean, I hope you remember normal distribution. So war basically means that the max. So here in this problem, if you see the war for one day at 95% confidence interval is $1 million, it means that I'm 95% sure, means out of 100 cases what I'm testing. So out of 100 cases what I'm testing, out of that I am 95 9 cases. I'm sure about 95 cases, or I'm sure about 95% that the maximum loss what you can get for one day is $1 million. So I'm 95% sure about that. But 5% I'm not sure about that. So 5% still I'm not sure about that part. And like so under 5% situation, it can be your loss can be more than $1 million, or it can be less than $1 million. If you remember test of hypothesis and all, significance level, confidence level, I hope you remember. So only 1 or 2 semester back we did that. So the same thing we do this. So in the investment banking world, whenever we are trying to measure the risk, we basically calculate on the VAR. So VAR stands for the value at risk. To calculate the VAR, the different techniques are there. So either it's a variance covariance method or a Monte Carlo simulation. All that you can study whenever you get time. Please read about VAR. Now, talking about this problem, what is being asked in your exam, that what is the risk? Explain the various type of risk a business enterprise is exposed to with an example. So here you can talk here when you're talking about risk. When 1 minute. So when we are talking about the risk, so these are the probable factors which you can talk about. So source of risk. So this is what they're asking you. So this is what they're asking you. So they're asking you. Here's a question paper. So so what they're asking you. So they're asking you explain the various type of risk. They're asking you explain the various type of risk a business enterprise is exposed to with example. So various type of risk which the business enterprise is exposed to with an example. So now here you'll write this. So the risk can arise from various sources depending upon the investment being considered, as well as the circumstances and the industry in which the organization is operating. So some of the example for risk can be for a business risk, it can be project specific risk, it can be company specific risk, it can be industry specific risk, it can be market risk, or it can be the competition risk, or it can be a risk due to economic condition, or it can be international risk. So these are the factors what you need to consider there. So when I'm talking about this question, when I'm talking about this question, when I'm talking about this question, these are the factors. So what are the various type of risk a business is exposed to? So the various type of risk the business is exposed to, in that you need to talk about all these risk factors. So in 5 marks, if you write out of 7 points, if you write even 5 points also, then it will serve the objective. Project specific risk you can understand. Project specific risk is only dependent on one particular project. It's more or less for a firm point of view, it's like a microeconomic factor. So the risk which is related to a project on which you are working, the how will you implement the project, talking about the timing for the implementation or error in project planning. So if you remember, whenever we do project planning, we talk in the term of PERT and CPM, project evolution and review technique, or critical path method techniques. So in project management, there's a different subject called project management, by working on that subject and working on the different factors within that subject. We try to work on the factors on which my project is exposed to and how I can mitigate the risk based on that factor. Then it can be company specific risk. Then it depends on my company. So my internally what is happening in my company. So the management of the company, agency problem, or the way that I'm working on my assets, the how I'm using my reserve and surplus, my profit and other things. So it is totally depending on the companies. Like you heard of this bank, this what was a bank? The bank, Yes Bank. So you heard of what has happened on Yes Bank. So what all ups and down, what was happening with that in that bank because of the CEOs and CXOs, and what has happened in Satyam in the past. That was a problem related to the company specific. Now industry specific can be maybe the industry itself is not performing well. So industry itself at this corona time, like industry like movers and packers, they are doing very well. Industry related to online payment, they are doing very well. So industry related to online business or online education, so they are doing very well. So some industries are definitely affected a lot, like education industry, or you talk about real estate industry, so job industry, anything. So there are some industry, so whenever any events happen, there are some industry which affect positively or which got affected negatively. Within that industry, whichever companies are there, definitely they are going to get affect in the parallel manner. Market risk is the risk which you can never minimize, no matter what you do. So like this corona epidemics, these all are the market specific risk. So any terrorist activity, all these you can never minimize, no matter what you do. Competition risk are related to the firms within themselves, the way they compete. So it again, it's within the industry specific risk. So like players like Geo, like when the Geo Mart, now Geo is coming into the retail industry. Now the onions in the market is there at 15 rupees or 70 rupees per kg. Geo Mart is selling onion at 8.5 rupees per kg. So they're trying to kill the market. So the same thing they did when they did with that Geo in that mobile industry, when they entered into the mobile industry, the same thing they had done. Now the same thing they are going to do in retail industry. The risk due to economic condition. So economic conditions like the way the government of India be changing the policies related to the taxes, or the other parameters like demonetization or GST implementation, all that, how that going to impact the firm. That is what we are going to study in risk due to economic condition. And then there's something called international risk. International risk is again the same thing as market risk. So what all happening in all part of the world is that I told you a butterfly effect and other factors is definitely going to impact us positively or negatively. So how we can work on that so that we can mitigate our risk. That is something what you need to work on here. So these are all the factors what you can discuss when I'm talking about the risk, the risk what a business enterprise can face whenever they're trying to analyze the given situation based upon the particular conditions they are undergoing to mitigate the risk in their business enterprises. So these all you can discuss there. So I hope you have understood what all I have done till now. Anyone have any question to ask? Anyone want to ask anything before I end the class? Anyone want to ask anything before I end the class? Any question, anyone? Mhm. So guys, I believe that you like the class. So all your feedbacks are most appreciably accepted. So what all you feel about the class, you are most welcome to speak on that part. So the idea of doing these classes to make sure that you can get better result in exam. So that was the intention which Padma Shri director sir want for you people, that you should get very good result. So with that intention, we are doing this service for all of you. So I hope you like the class. So if you like the class, don't forget to hit the like button in my YouTube channel, what you will get very soon. And then don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Fine, guys. So I hope you enjoyed from this class and it was learning for all of you. So now, if you don't have any question, then I'll end this class. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Take care. Bye. See you tomorrow, everyone. I really want to do problem in Excel, Ranjit, but normally the feedback what I used to get from people when I do in Excel, that people feel that this problem in exam we have to do in pen paper, and I'm doing in Excel, so I got negative feedback from the people, because when I used to do in Excel, if I the same thing if I do in Excel, I can do in 1 minute. Same thing if I do in pen pencil, I'll take 10 minutes. So but because for the people general opinion, because then Excel is very easy for me to do, but many people are not very comfortable with Excel. That's why I do not touch the Excel. Otherwise, I'm very good with Excel. I any day I prefer Excel over any way for doing calculation. Huh. Mhm. Fine, everyone. Simprasad, you will get everything in your group, the recorded session. So that time you can do that. Fine. So so guys, it's time to end the session. Anyone want to say anything else before I end the class? Okay, fine, guys. Thank you, everyone. I have another class at 1:30. So very quickly, I'll take permission from you to leave. Pardon me for that part. Okay, see you everyone very soon tomorrow. God bless you. Take care. Bye. Sayonara.